universe is created, what are the distance between planets, how actually the planets revolve, how day night. So basically, so many things which actually normally we learn as part of our normal geography in the school, right? So why is it really important to understand this? This is one question actually, right? Which everybody may have. So in a broader sense, no, it may not be really necessary to know all the technical details. Okay, but there's no harm in knowing about it because it is definitely mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Because ultimately the purpose of all knowing all this information is finally to understand who is Supreme Lord. Because in Bhagavad Gita we know, right? Krishna says that Vedesha sarve rahameva vedyo Vedantakrit Veda Videka Chavam. So he's saying that the purpose of knowing all the Vedas, so basically this knowledge of cosmic Vedic cosmology is also part of Vedas. So the purpose of knowing all the Veda is ultimately to understand who the Supreme Lord is, right? And there are other things like who is the living entity, who is the Supreme Soul, what is the relationship, right? Abhyudaya, Sambandha, Prayojana, so these kind of things. So ultimately the purpose is to know Krishna. So even suppose somebody reads all the Vedic scriptures and he's a great scholar, and he could not come to the conclusion that Krishna is the supreme, then all this knowledge is not really much useful, right? But on the other hand, if somebody understands, he doesn't have to separately learn all the Vedic scriptures if he has come to the final conclusion. So this way, it may not be really very important actually. But then who are having interest actually, they can understand about it. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, since it is part of Srimad Bhagavatam, actually, we can try to understand what is mentioned there. So there are some actually see all this material, none of the material is mine actually. Everything I have taken from different sources. Okay, so that I just want to give the disclaimer. So actually, generally, the universal form of the Lord is explained multiple places. In Bhagavad Gita, it is there. In Srimad Bhagavatam, also it is there. So in one way, if you look actually, this all the material manifestations are, we know that it is Binna Prakriti, right? It is separated energy of the Lord. So the Lord has internal, external, and marginal energies. These are the three broad categories. But actually, there are unlimited energies. Sadasha Shakti, Vivideva Swede. So there are unlimited energies. But actually, the main classification is external, internal, and marginal. So the internal potency is known as Yoga Maya, which actually is conducting the spiritual world and the Lord's pastimes. And the external energy is known as Mahamaya, right? It's Bahiranga Shakti, external energy, internal energy is Antaranga Shakti, and Tadasa Sakshi is the living entities who are actually part and parcel of Supreme Lord. So actually the living entities are internal energy, spiritual energy, but when they come to the material world, they becomes under the influence of, they are covered by the material, gross and subtle coverings. The gross, the five elements, earth, water, air, fire, ether, the body, gross body, and the mind, intelligence, ego, the subtle body. So this way, the living entity actually becomes the marginal energy. So marginal energy or Tadasa Shakti, it is known as because it is just like a tat. A tat actually is a shore, right? A shore actually is sometime under the influence of water and sometimes under the influence of land. So similarly, the living entity in the material world, sometimes they are under the influence of external energy, Maya, and sometimes they are under the influence of internal energy. And then devotees who are liberated, who are advanced, they are actually under the control of internal energy. Krishna says, "No, Mahatmanastu mam partha, devim prakriti ashrita." So this way, so there are different energies of the Lord. So the external energy is known as actually is a separate energy. Is generally considered as material energy. So this is from a basic understanding purpose. But from an advanced devotee's perspective, they see everything as spiritual, even the material energy. There is the sarvam kalvidam brahman, right? So they see even in matter also they see like they, okay, but so this is just a part, and then there's a question actually, like somebody will ask, therefore although Maharaj Parishit may not have had any reason to concern with the detailed information of the universe, but by thinking of it in relationship with Supreme Lord, such geographical knowledge is no more material but transcendental. So when we see everything in relation to the Lord, then everything becomes transcendental. So that way, it's still this knowledge is useful. Then actually, this is very interesting. It says that the limits of expansion of Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cannot be estimated by anyone, even a person as perfect as Brahma, not to speak of any tiny scientist whose senses are instruments. Senses and instruments are all imperfect and who cannot give us the information of even of this one universe. So this is just an idea to give you that no, I don't want to set a very false expectation. So actually, it is by definition itself, no, it is not possible to understand everything. It is very difficult. So we will just try to understand what is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam and what other previous acharyas or disciples of Srila Prabhupada, whatever they've done research about it, we try to understand whatever to extent possible. So that actually I'll talk a little bit more detail. Then, so we should therefore be satisfied with the information obtainable from Vedic sources as spoken by authorities like Sukadeva Goswami. So whatever is possible, try to understand. So why Sukadeva Goswami is explaining? So this is mentioned like this, that to show that how the residents of different planets are primarily engaged in worship of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to inspire us to take up the same. So actually, normally we talk about what is happening in this earth, right? But actually in Bhagavatam, we can get information about, sometimes they talk about different other, like for other Varshas, other mountains like Gandhamadana mountain. So many other places are mentioned actually. So we generally don't know, exactly where it is. So we can understand that, okay, in other planetary systems, like, there are Earth planetary system, higher planetary system, low planet. So all the planetary systems, there are actually devotees of the Lord, and then there are pastimes of the devotees of the Lord. So in that respect, Sukadeva Goswami has explained about also, that is also the context. So Srimad Bhagavatam, fifth canto is actually one of the, in second canto also there is about, details, information about the creation, and also fifth canto gives more information about the like planetary systems, Bhumandala, and other higher planetary systems. So this is actually the basis of many of the information that we are going to talk about. Okay, so this I am just giving the introduction. Once we go to the technical part, then maybe you can stop me if you have questions. Because now, if you don't understand one part, you may not be able to understand the rest. So because we cannot keep everything to the end, in the as in the normal class, because I'm going to show some pictures, so you may have to ask with respect to the pictures if you have questions. So just you can interrupt me once I start that part. Okay, so the next question is, this is what we discussed briefly. So can we really understand the material manifestations, or the spiritual world? This kind of thing can we understand? So with respect to that, in fifth canto, so 16th chapter actually starts the explanation of Jambudvipa, which is also known as the Bhumandala. So in that, the fourth sloka itself, actually, in the very beginning, basically before Sukadeva Goswami asked certain question, and to that response, before starting explaining the Jambudvipa, Sukadeva Goswami tells this sloka. Okay, this sloka is little long. I cannot read it in the tuned manner. You can read it. Rishiruvacha Navai Maharaja Bhagavato Maya Guna Vibhude Kashtam Manasa Vajasa Vadi Gantum Alam Vibhudyasapi Purushat Tasmat Pradhana Enaiva Golaka Vishesham Namaruba Mana Lakshanto Vyakyasamaha. Okay, what is the translation is important, interesting for us. The great Rishi Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, there is no limit to the expansion of Supreme Personality of God's material energy. This material world is a transformation of the material qualities, Sattva, Rajo, Guna, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. Yet, no one could possibly explain it perfectly, even in a lifetime as long as that of Brahma. No one in the material world is perfect, and an imperfect person could not describe this material universe accurately, even after continued speculation. O king, I shall nevertheless try to explain to you the principal regions such as Bhuloka, which their names, forms, measurements, and various symptoms. Okay, so this should be our kind of a, this should set the right context, for what we are going to discuss. So it is some of the things, if you are not able to understand, don't feel that, okay, it is something, no, I'm only not able to understand. So there is a time how long, how long Brahma lives. So even in such a long period, if a philosopher or a scientist speculate to understand the universe by the
Prabhu, Prabhu, can you speak slowly, Prabhu?
no,
Your
it
voice is breaking.
is
I think
difficult to understand.
connection issue.
So you can just imagine what connection. So this is okay. So voice breaking.
Yes, Prabhu. Speak slowly, it will come again.
Is it breaking? So should I rejoin the call?
No, no, Prabhu, that's what. Whenever
Just
you're
pass it. Okay.
speaking slowly,
Pass
it
it.
is
Okay.
coming correctly. But whenever you're speaking fast, it is the words are coming.
One thing I was that I will the video. Just see now. Is it any improvement? Is there, Krishna?
Yes, Prabhu. Now
Yeah,
it's okay.
now it is
Are
better, Prabhu. Now it is better.
audible? Okay, there's a problem. Maybe I'll try to change the network actually. If the problem is continuing, I will change the network.
Now it is fine, sir.
So should I okay, this slide, should I repeat anything? Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhu, it is clear that we should have a right context of that. Sukadeva Goswami tell that we'll try to understand. What
Yeah. Basically, we cannot fully understand. That is what we have to understand. Okay. So okay, now so one just just to give background. So typically when we conduct, so how do we know that the knowledge of this planetary system, right? It is inbuilt to our culture. So whenever we are going to start any auspicious activity, in the beginning of the yajnas or something, we generally used to chant a mantra. So for example, this is one example is given. Sankalpa mantra, right? If you this is actually for 1st July 2016 is suppose if that is the current date. With respect to that, no, normally they sing this particular sloka in the beginning, right? So first part actually Govinda, we actually glorify the Lord. Then after that we say Adya Brahmana Dvitiye, what is that? Parade. So that means that from the year of Brahma's birth, the second half. Then Sri Sweda Varaha Kalpe, which is the Kalpa. Current Kalpa is Sweda Varaha Kalpa. Then Vaivasvada Manvantare. This is the current Manu is Vaivasvada Manu, 7th Manu. Then we say Ata Vishmadi Tame at the 28th Mahayuga of the Manvantara. Then Kali Yuge Prathama Pade, the first quarter of this Kali Yuga, Jambudvipe. So this from here onward, it is talking about the Jambudvip. Jambudvipe, Bharata Varshe, Bharata Kante, right? Then after that, so that means that actually see Skabde Mero Dakshina Parve. I think it's echoing. So to the south of Mount Meru, right? Then then after that, rest of the part is actually about a local thing, which actually in South India, for example, Krishna Godavari. So basically, what we have to understand is that then more details are there. I'm not going into that actually. So basically, this is part of our culture. No, traditionally from generation to generation, this is going on. And then without knowing, also if you do a yagya, no, they actually in the beginning they recite a shloka saying that no, you might have heard Jambu Dibe Bharatavarshe. So this is inbuilt actually to our culture, right? And then it is coming through the disciplic succession, the parampara system. Okay, so that is just to give a background. Now, before we go further, actually, one thing we have to understand is that actually in Srimad Bhagavatam, okay, before that, I just wanted to show. So this is actually this is Canto 5. No, the name is Creative Impetus, and it starts with it starts with the activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. Then it talks about the different dynasties. And then Rishabhadev, characters of Rishabhadev. There are a few chapters on Rishabhadev. Then about King Bharat, right? And there are a few chapters about King Bharat Maharaj. Then Bharat Maharaj, second birth as a deer, third birth as actually Jada Bharat. This is explained. Then there is a conversation between Maharaj, Raghvana, and Jadabharata. Then there is an allegory story, like comparing how the material world is like a forest. It is an example kind of thing. Then there's a chapters of descendants of Priyavrata. So till here, actually, the histories of the different generations and dynasties explained. From 16th chapter onwards, the actually, till the end of this fifth canto talks about the material universe. Okay, so this is the source of our knowledge. And before there are many devotees of Srila Prabhupada always wanted this Vedic planetarium, right? Because many people are not able to understand when they explain this concept about Jambudvip and things, etc. So that's why Prabhupada always had a desire that his disciple has to work more on this, find out, do research, and understand how the planetary system works. So one of his disciples, his name is Sataputta Dasa. His non-initiated name is Richard L. Thompson. So Richard L. Thompson, he was actually a scientist. He is a PhD in various game theory, and he's very and highly intellectual devotee. He had done a lot of research actually to try to understand the universal system creation. So he has done so based on his work is one of the primary or pioneer work actually among our community to understand the concepts about Bhugola and various planetary systems. So we have to give the credit to Sataputta Das. He actually he passed left the planet somewhere in 2008. So he's no more. And after that, actually, many other devotees also took it forward. Danvir Goswami, he's another disciple actually who has done a lot of research on the topic. And then there are many other devotees who have given lectures, and also there's Bhaktivedanta Institute. Just see what is the name exactly. Yeah, Bhaktivedanta Vidyapita. So they have actually done also a lot of research on this topic. Okay, so based on their work and understanding, no, we can little bit try to understand how is the universal creation, planetary system. So one thing is that so there is always a controversy, like when we read some people from Bhagavatam, Veda, some people say that they say that Earth is flat from the Vedic understanding, and some people say that it is round. So for example, the Jambudweep, the Bhumandala is actually depicted as a flat disk kind of thing. So why it is like that? Actually, that Prabhuji Sadhguru Das he has explained it. He is actually saying that no, we have to understand. So actual understanding is that because in Vedas and Srimad Bhagavatam also many places it is the earth is referred as Bhugola, the Gola kind of terminology. So actually it is not that they don't know that earth is globe, but for the same understanding. So what they give the example is that a particular situation we can actually a particular situation can be understood from different perspectives, right? So for example, like we can look at object from different angles, for example, right? So or from a different perspective. For example, I am looking from an astrology perspective, then I am only interested in the stars, how the stars and the luminaries are, for example, how they are rotating. Now, I'm not interested in other aspects. So then I may represent the like the cosmic manifestation in a particular way, which is suitable for that particular understanding. It's one of the views. So similarly, for another, looking from a different perspective, you may represent it in a different way. So when we talk about Bhumandala as a plane, it is actually we have to understand it is a projection. It is called the stereographic projection. So the Earth actually globe is there. So suppose let's say from the top we press the globe actually. Let's say we cut the globe in the half and we press on the top and make it a flat thing. So that actually is what is the projection of the Earth, right? So this is how the Bhumandala is represented. No, in actually the Vedic, in whatever we try to understand in from Canto 5, it is this projection of the earth actually which is described is what actually uh, the previous devotees who have done research on this, they have explained in that way. So that is one thing we have to keep it in mind, how actually why it is mentioned in that way. It is actually one of the views. Okay, anybody has any question? Okay, so now let us move on
Yeah,
to
one quick
the
question. Sorry, sir. One quick. So you are telling about Jambudvipa as the whole. What is this plain thing? I didn't get. Is it Bhumandala?
we'll come to that, Prabhu. I have not explained it actually, so I will explain that in the coming few after some time. Is it okay, Prabhu?
Yeah. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, this chart many of you are familiar, right? So this is the entire planetary system, cosmic manifestation, which includes material and spiritual world in one particular picture. Okay, so now with respect to this, I'm not just thinking where to start. Okay, so let us first go through this actually. So we'll get a big picture of the entire cosmic manifestation. Then actually we go to the Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto, what actually talks about in detail. Okay, so hope actually the screen is visible. So basically, I hope many of you are familiar, though not everybody maybe. So here actually in this Goloka chart, so what actually you can see the Brahmajyoti, right? So this is kind of a, you can consider it as a division of the entire creation. So what is above, again, we have to understand that this is only one representation of the existence. So one important point we have to understand is that many things in this cosmic manifestation, we find it very hard to understand. Also, many things not only in cosmic manifestation, many of the things which are mentioned in scriptures. For example, it talks about Ravana is having 10 heads, right? And then King Karthikeya Arjunan, right? He's having 1,000 arms. So these many things like this actually, right? We find it difficult to understand. So what actually some of the devotees who have analyzed all these things is in telling that this actually this universe and the creation, right? It is actually it is a multi-dimensional realms. There are multi-dimensional realms. Okay, and in human form of life, we actually can understand only three dimensions, right? Which actually we are familiar with. No, we have the three dimensions of the space, which actually we are familiar, like the x, y, and z axis, right? Basically, if there is an object, we can know what is the length, what is the breadth, and what is the depth. So these are the basic three dimensions. And sometimes people, scientists say also that fourth dimension is the time. But generally, with respect to space, we can only understand three dimension. But I know, and our Brahma is having four heads, no Chaturbhaga Brahman, right? But it is told that no, we know that many other universes there are Brahmas with no many hundreds of thousands and even millions of heads. So all these things are inconceivable for us. So we have to. So this is because of the fact that we are not able to understand the any dimension because beyond the third dimension. Okay, so this I can only state like this. It doesn't mean that no, I know what is fourth dimension or the so it is not easy to understand that. So that is why some of the things we find it little difficult to comprehend fully. Okay. So with that, this thing, let us try. So the Brahmajyoti is kind of a division, and so what is above the Brahmajyoti is the spiritual worlds, which is known as which is the Tripada Vibhuti of the Lord, right? The 3/4 of the creation, and what is below Brahmajyoti is known as the Ekapada Vibhuti. It is the 1/4 of the creation. So the material world, all the material universes, material entire material existence or material cosmic manifestation is only 1/3, and no, the remaining is actually spiritual world. Okay, so actually today we will not be talking about the spiritual worlds. Okay, maybe briefly we can talk, but then we don't have much information about spiritual world anyway, right? We have only some glimpses actually. Okay, but about the material world, there are actually it is more details are available, like in Srimad Bhagavatam, and then no, the Surya Siddhanta, and many other books actually talks about material universe in more detail. Okay, so what actually how the things are happening is that. Okay, before this, maybe we may have to understand a little bit about expansions of the Lord. Okay, so just a moment. Okay, so this is actually a little off topic. No, not directly related, but I think it may be, in the context, it may be interesting to know a little bit about it. So I think the screen is a little small, but I'll just read it. Okay, so as we know, Lord Sri Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, right? He is the origin of everything. No, Krishna says in Brahma Samhita we know that Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Radir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So he is Anadi. There's no beginning or end for the Lord, Supreme Lord. He is actually is always there, and he is the source of everything else. So Lord Krishna is the first Purusha or the first living entity. And as per the chart, what we can understand, the first expansion of Lord is Balram. Okay, and from Balram, the first Chadurvyuha, the first quadruple expansion is coming, which is Vasudeva, Sangarshana, Pradyumna, and Anuruddha. And from Sangarshana, again the second, from Sangarshana, actually Narayana expansion comes, and from Narayana, the second quadruple, the second Chadurvyuha expansion is coming, which is again Vasudeva, Sangarshana, Pradyumna, and Anuruddha. And from Sangarshana, Mahavishnu is coming. Okay, so from here onwards, I think we can go to the other chart and understand. So Mahavishnu, so we know that okay, Mahavishnu actually is lying in the causal ocean. No, in Brahma Samhita is actually the shloka is there. Ye karna arnava jale what is the shloka? Bhajadisma yoga nidra. Yeah. So basically, it is telling that Mahavishnu is lying in the causal ocean. Karna ocean is also known as the Karana of the Kashaya Vishnu. Right, and then from his actually, so what we understand in Brahma Samhita is that from every pore of the body of Mahavishnu, when he breathes out, one actually from every pore one universe is coming out. Yeah, Jagadanda Godi, right? So the millions of universes are coming from the pores of Mahavishnu when he breathes out. So and then when he breathes in, all these universes actually go back to his body. So that shloka is there. The nivasi the kala. Kala, yeah, Kalam Ada. So basically, Yeshwasita. So basically, Yeshwasita means Kala means for one breath of Mahavishnu, right? That's what it actually explained. Yeshwasita Kala. So within one, so all the universes exist. Material universe exists for just one breath of Mahavishnu, and that one breath of Mahavishnu, we know that it is the life of Brahma, right? Which is we have discussed, which is 311 trillion years and some 40 billion years, something like that actually. So that is that just one breath of Mahavishnu. So we can imagine what is the greatness. Right. So from Mahavishnu, so Mahavishnu is lying in the Karana ocean. They call Karanodaka ocean. Right. And let us go back to the other picture. Yes. So we can see on the top, right? Mahavishnu is actually there. He's lying down in the Karana ocean. And then you can see that all the universes are coming from the pores of his body. And then we are actually now focusing on we'll go to focus on only one universe, how that universe is constructed. And we also don't have information about other universes because as we just know that, okay, there are other universes with more dimensions, with Brahma with more heads, etc. But we don't know more details about other universes. We only know about our universe, which actually we are belonging to. So which actually will focus on more. So the Karana of the Kashaya Vishnu, it is told that like in the beginning actually there is only some unmanifested something called Pradhana. And when Mahavishnu glances, it becomes agitated, and and the modes comes into existence, like the Sattva, Rajo, Tamo, and subsequently, gradually all other creations are done actually by the glance of Mahavishnu. So basically, it is also one way. Another important thing, interesting thing to understand. Maybe one of the ways of looking at the entire existence is, Sadabuddha Dasa only explains. Actually, as this material cosmic manifestation can also be considered like a virtual reality. uh, it is also told, for example, no, it is also sometimes explained, this Mahavishnu, what is that, Yoga Nidra, no, is lying in the Yoga Nidra. So it is told that this entire material creation is like the dream. It is not just the dream of Mahavishnu. He's just dreaming, and then all these things are coming into existence, right? So also from another perspective, we can understand that our existence in this material world is also kind of a dream, or it's a, one way, you know, how Prabhuji has explained is it's like a virtual reality. So just imagine that, you know, some of us are used to playing games, right? Virtual games. So now we have virtual reality. So in virtual reality, you know, we get a more very closer realistic experience. For example, no, you can put on the particular goggle, which actually, you know, will show, we have a display, then we put a headphone, and then, you know, we can use some device actually to manipulate. For example, you are flying a plane, then actually you can exactly feel like, you know, you are going through different areas, you know, you can go up, down, and then sometimes you get a vibration, you know. So actually, so sometimes you actually feel that you will forget your real existence. I know you think that you are actually real there. Even this kind of feeling we even get when we go to watch a movie, for example, right? So nowadays, actually, you know, when we were small, when we were smaller time, when we were children, etc. So we used to think that okay, everything is exactly real, and then we forget who we are temporarily. Same thing happens in our dream also. So similarly, it is told that one way of understanding our existence today, for example, today we are having different identities. No, we have different names. Like for example, no, different like names, or each of us have. So this is just like a one of the games we are playing in this, no, in our existence. So what only thing is that just like how in a virtual reality. So if the virtual reality is very advanced, no, they are still advancing. The more and more become advanced, then the almost the feeling, everything, all the feeling, the different sensory perceptions, right? Like sight, hearing, touch. So basically, we have to understand that all our understanding about existence is through our five senses. Our five senses are the windows to the existence. So if you don't have these five senses, then we can't perceive anything, right? So just like in a virtual game, when we get immersed, we think that there is nothing beyond this. Same way, when we are in the material body, by the power of Maya, the living entity is fully convinced that no, I am this body. So this body is just like an avatar or just a small machine given to you to play the role in this particular lifetime, right? So based on your, so basically this game has so many rules and regulations, and no, and somebody may know the rules, somebody may not know, but nevertheless the rules will act. So you know, for example, in a game you have, no, suppose if you are if you are hit, if you are beaten by the opponent, then you may lose some points, right? So in this world, in our real this thing, based on our different karma activities, we actually get various reactions, and accordingly, after this game is over, you get another new body, new machine to play based on your desire. So you wanted to have fly, so next time, you know, you may get a bird's body, and then again you can continue playing. But actually we are completely convinced that there is nothing beyond the five senses, right? Because that is why people doesn't believe, no, if you say there is God, or no, like suppose if you tell to a person who is not very educated, you say there is bacteria in the air, no, you will not believe, I can't see anything. So because we fully trust our senses, and we think that okay, this is all in all, and then our understanding of the world is based on the five senses. So so this way we are actually convinced, right? So that is just a kind of a background I want to give, you know, before we go into this little more detail. Okay, so yes, so where I was actually exactly, so I was talking about the Mahavishnus, right? He's breathing out, and all the universe are coming from his different body. Yeah, so the Mahatattva, right? So the living entities comes into existence, no, after the universe are created. So what happens uh, once the universe comes out of the body of Mahavishnu? He actually, Mahavishnu expands as Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu, and every universe he enters, in as one Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu. So that is Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu you can see in the universe, right? This universe we can see below. So here, so every universe is in the shape of like this anda, no? We call this is the shape of the universe, and half of the universe is filled with the perspiration of Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu. You know, it is filled with water. This water is known as Garbhodaka ocean. So half the bottom half is filled with water, in the form of Garbhodaka. So actually, what is available? All the planetary systems, everything is existing only in the top half of the bottom half is only water, right? So the Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu is again lying down, and from the navel of the Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu, this lotus flower is coming, right? And on the stem of the lotus flower, all the planetary systems are situated. Okay, so this is the high level understanding of the universe, right? And then we can see that no, the planetary systems are broadly classified into middle, upper, and lower planetary system.
Prabhu, one question here.
Yes.
Prabhu, all the planets are within the stem or outside the stem? Is it stem is like a pipe and all the
Not
planet
exactly.
system within?
My understanding is that see the planet is it's not one planet actually. No, it is a planetary system. So the entire disk at that level, no, they have planets. So it is not just one planet is there. Because you can see the circles which are there here, no. So these circles which are, it's like a disk. So each of the disk is one planetary system. So that planets are extending in that disk, in the length of the disk.
Okay, okay. Because Brahma, when Brahma takes birth, no, he just goes up and down within the stem
Stem.
only, no.
Yes,
So
yes.
he doesn't go outside. So I thought.
Yeah, yeah. So that is in the very beginning stage, right? After that, actually, he gets the information and then he creates other planets. So initially, I think no other planetary system were not existent. Actually, only Brahma was there. So then it is told that so many billions of years nothing is happening, right? And then after that, actually, Brahma, then Brahma is created, and then Brahma actually also doesn't do. He just does meditation because he could not find anything. And then after that, Krishna is actually Lord reveals. Tene Brahma what is that shloka? Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kave, right? So in Brahma's heart, actually, Lord is revealing the information about Vedic knowledge and how to do the creation and things like that. I'm just trying to. I'm not exactly able to get a proper zoom. Yeah. So you can see here, right? So we have this is the Earth planet actually, Burloka. So on top we have the higher planetary system like Burloka. Burloka is actually the abode of Rakshasas, Gandharvas, Yakshas, these kind of living beings. There also the facilities of enjoyment is very high. Okay, and above Burloka we have Swargaloka. Then we have, so still Swargaloka is considered as actually a kind of more what you call still Swargaloka is subjected to more frequent devastation because every night of Brahma the planetary system below Swargaloka is devastated, and again next day Brahma again created. So but the planet above that they are actually not destroyed in every night of Brahma. So Swargaloka onwards, Swargaloka also is marked by the pole star. The pole star is the starting of the Swargaloka or Dhruvaloka. From there actually the Swargaloka start, and upper planet beyond that actually are the higher planetary system which are actually not devastated even during the night of Brahma. So these are Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. The Satyaloka is actually the Brahma's planet. Which actually in Satyaloka, so as we go up, the life forms are more subtle. In the earthly planet, it is very gross, right? We have the five five earth, water, air, fire, ether. And as we go upper and upper, it is told that the things are more subtle. And in the Satyaloka, it is very subtle actually. It's almost like they have a subtle body kind of thing, right? And then that's how actually higher planetary system. And when you come down below Earth, actually we have this Atala planetary system: Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahadala, Rasatala, and Patala. Okay, so these are the lower planetary system. And below the Patala actually is a hellish planetary system. There are very hellish, this Pitraloka and other hellish planetary system where actually the living entity is taken after death for punishments. So that is the hellish planetary system below Patala. So this is a very high level overview of the entire universe. Okay, so now what we are going to do is that we are going to go very deep into all of this. Somebody has any question?
Prabhu, this Pitraloka is also part of a hellish planet, is it?
Yes, Prabhu. Pitraloka is actually where Yamaraj is presiding. Okay, so first actually you go to Pitraloka, where Yamaraj is the presiding person, and then from there actually you are sent to different hells or higher planetary system based on the this thing judgment.
Prabhuji, I have one doubt. Here, Rakshasas and ghosts also above the Bhuloka, Prabhuji. Bhuvarloka mentioned.
Yes, Mataji.
They are upper than the Bhuloka, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. So Rakshasas, Yakshas, they are actually considered as they are actually they are considered as like at a kind of though their mentality they are not serving the Lord, but actually they have better facilities than human beings. And in the hellish planetary system, for example, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, it is told that there are also kind of similar, little bit kind of Rakshasas or kind of people are there. Like for example, some of them have this snake, different kind of snakes are there. And then different kind of living entities actually are there in those planetary system also. So exactly the Rakshasa definition, I'm not exactly sure who qualifies to be Rakshasa, but generally it is mentioned that these Yakshas, Rakshasas, those kind of living entities are in the Bhuvarloka. Is it okay, Mataji?
Means humans are lesser than Rakshasas, Prabhuji.
Yes, it depends on how you want to do. So, but it is told that even the demigods, they are actually constantly praying to take birth in the Bharatavarsha. Because whether you are big or small, I mean, that all depends on what actually is the purpose. So if you want to go back to Krishna and the life cycle of birth and death, it is told that there is no place which is more suitable than Bharatavarsha. So in Bhumandala, we are going to talk about it in more detail. In Bhumandala itself, no, there are actually a lot of other realms. No, in Bhumandala, it is not just Earth planet is there. There are so many other different realms are there. There are different varshas. So it is told that, so basically the Swarga, if you talk, no, it is told that there are three kind of Swarga. Okay, one is known as Bhauma Swarga. Okay, that is the Swarga within the Bhumandala. That is not in Earth actually. We will see in detail. The Earth is only one part actually. The Bharatavarsha part of the Bhumandala is a small part in the Bhumandala, which actually is the part where we are residing. Okay, so only this is the part which actually we have access to. We cannot access any other Varshas in this particular Bhumandala. We cannot have access. But it is told that in Bhumandala itself, there are other deeps. Right, actually, it talks about like Ilavada Varsha. There are different Varshas where there also the enjoyment is 1,000 times more than the earthly planet. Actually, there it is told that the souls which actually come back from the Swarga, they before coming to Earth, they spend time there actually, and then they come to Earth. So these places within the Bhumandala itself, there are places of enjoyment, which is it's almost like Swargalok. So like that, there are so many things which we don't know. But the human form of life is actually very, very rare. Prahlad Maharaj says, right, Durlabham Manusha Janmam. The human form of life is the most suitable for going back, because actually, the facilities for going back is very easy. You have a small lifetime, and then you can finish your karma in a short period of time. In Swargaloka and all, no, they live for millions of years, right? And then there is continuous enjoyment. So they actually generally they don't have so much of facility to perfect their life. They're just finishing their karma, good karmas, and then they'll again come back. Shine Punne Martilogam Vishandi. Whether you are in fact, actually, Rakshasas mean like demons, actually, right? We generally think that demons are very kind of only Rakshasas or dullard people. No, it is not true. See, demons are very elevated people also. They also study. For example, in the case of Hiranyakashipu, he actually was a great scholar. Actually, he used to give, for example, when Hiranyaksha was killed, he actually talks about Vedic philosophy. Like he talks about the soul. So actually, demons only mean that they are not favorable to the Lord. They have very good intelligence, they are good, very good power, very good beauty. I mean, it's possible. So no, that all depends, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So any other questions until now?
So what are the three different Swargas? You said Bhauma Swarga?
Yeah. Okay. So Bhauma Swarga is the Swarga on the earth. Then actually it is called Divya Swarga.
I didn't put video, Prabhu.
Video is required. What video? Okay, so Bhauma Swarga is the Swarga within the earth, Bhaumandala, not earth actually, Bhumandala. Then there is Divya Swarga, which actually the normal Swarga we talk, right? Whatever Swarga we just say, that is the Divya Swarga, where actually the heavenly demigods are there, Indra, Chandra, Varuna, and all those demigods. That is a real Swarga, Divya Swarga. And then there is called Bila Swarga, Bhila, Bila Swarga. These are subterranean heavens. So the Bila Swargas are this Atala, Vidala, Sutala, Taladala, Rasadala, Mahatala, Patala, right? So these are known as subterranean heaven. So actually it is told that in the subterranean planets also, the enjoyment actually is thousands of times. It is almost like Swarga. And in certain aspect, it is better than Swarga, they say. Because in Swargalok, their enjoyments are sometimes hampered because of the Asuras, right? They try to attack and so in Bila Swarga, actually they have uninterrupted enjoyment. And then they have so much of power, like thousands of elephant kind of power, and and they don't have diseases. So we actually, our understanding is not, sometimes we think that okay, this lower planet are all hellish planet. That is not true. This is not the Bila Swarga, where actually they have a lot of facilities for enjoyment. So one of this planet actually, it is Bhagavatam explain that what is that, Maya Danava. The cities are all very 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 well planned cities. There is very beautiful lakes, very beautiful parks, and then everybody is very very beautiful. And then they have so much of power. Like so, actually it is explained in detail like that. So these things actually, when we read Bhagavatam, we get idea about all those things. Okay.
Okay, bro. Thank you.
Yes. So any question on this high level thing? Okay, one more thing I just want to say is that actually it is told that the universe, right? The Bhumandala, actually this we know about this Ananda, right? Ananda, who actually is shown below, right? Who is actually Lord's expansion, Sangarshana. So it is told that all the universes are like mustard seed. The Ananda has unlimited number of heads, and every universe, just look, if you keep a mustard seed on a head of a snake, we cannot even see it. So it is only that much. It is but actually you see the gigantic form of the universe, right? You cannot even imagine. It is told that the diameter of the universe is around 4 billion miles, right? So it's extremely huge. We just know about our, like, just see one building, how much actually weight it is, right? So you imagine the entire creation. So it is all resting like small mustard seed on the head of the Ananta. So actually there are two Anantas mentioned. One Ananta is outside the universe, right? Outside all the universes, and all the universes are on head of the Ananta. So all the universes, and within the universe also there is one Ananta actually, right? Who is actually bearing the weight of the entire Bhumandala. And then that Ananta is supported by a tortoise also, one Kurma. So there are like there are two Anantas mentioned. Okay, so this is like a 50,000 feet view about the universe. I mean, I'm just giving an example, but 50,000 is nothing. But I mean, very top level view of the universe is like this. Okay, so now if this is clear, maybe we can go to the details. So if you have any questions here, we can just discuss that briefly, and then maybe I think we don't have much time. We are almost kind of, we another 10 minutes are there. So if you have some questions, we can go. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is that we'll talk in detail about the Jambudvipa, the Bhumandala.
Prabhuji, I have question on Sadashiva Loka, Prabhuji. Can I ask now or on further classes? Can I ask this question?
You can ask actually, but it's not necessary that I will be able to answer. Okay, so basically Sadashiva Loka is mentioned here. It's about the Brahmajyoti. You can see, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So actually, it is considered as it's part of the spiritual world only. But the Lord Shiva, there are different expansions. Okay, so this Sadashiva is almost like the Vishnu only. We know that, no, Kshiram Yadi, that sloka is there in Brahma Samhita. So when the milk is transformed to curd, actually there is no difference. Actually, no, it is another form of milk. So similarly, Lord Sadashiva is actually kind of almost like spiritual, and then this abode of Kailash, which is there in the Sadashiva's abode of Kailash in the spiritual world, is eternal. It is never destroyed. When the entire cosmic, and when Mahavishnu breathes in, also it is not destroyed. So it is almost like spiritual world only. But actually, Lord Shiva has abode in the earth also. In Bharatvarsh also he is there, and in other world, and one more another. We'll go to that actually. In another Varsha, he is actually the presiding deity. So that like that, Lord's different forms. Lord also is expanded as 8 Rudras at the time of devastation. And then one Rudra actually is born from the Brahma's nose. I mean, sorry, from the eyebrow, between the eyebrow, when Brahma actually becomes angry, right? When Kumaras are not ready to, so Kumaras are not ready to do the progeny, then Brahma become angry, and one of the Rudras are born. So like that, Lord Shiva has different manifestations. So it is very difficult to understand, like how to understand Krishna, right? So Shiva Tattva is also very, very difficult to understand. It's not very simple to understand, very complex. So all that, for a devotee's perspective, all that we have to understand is that, see, as we see, everything is Lord's expansion. There is no distinction. If you take demigods, human beings, everybody is Lord. Everybody is coming from the Supreme Lord, right? So they are just part and parcel. And some of them actually, there are only difference in the potency. Some of them are like Binnamsha, Bibinnamsha. There are so many different expansions, like Kala expansions are there. Manandara, so many different categories. There are different categories of expansion. Some of them are actually Vishnu Tattvas, which has more potencies, more opulences, and some of them are lesser actually. But everything invariably, even the living entities like us, they are all expansions of the Lord. So only thing is that the potencies and their powers are different. So we should not generally try to think, okay, whether Lord Shiva is better or Lord Shiva, Krishna is better or Brahma is better. These kind of questions we should not have. And as per our acharyas, we understand that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything is coming from him. And Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of the Krishna, because Lord Shiva himself tells to Parvati, what is that? Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param, right? Yeah. So basically, so these are just different manifestations, Prabhuji. And we know about Sadashiva Loka. I only know this much. That actually, which is actually it's part of the spiritual world.
Okay.
You wanted to know something more?
Yeah, some of the in ISKCON Salem Golok chart, Prabhuji, this Sadashiva Loka is mentioned below Brahmajyoti. So that's what I'm confused, Prabhuji. Is it a part of spiritual world or it's a part of Brahmajyoti?
It is kind of like a intermediate place, I would say. So
Okay.
strictly speaking, you can see, Kailash, just above Kailash actually is the Vaikuntha planets. Vaikuntha planets are shown just above the above Kailasha. But nevertheless, whether it is part of a spiritual world, it's like little bit difficult to decide. But one way, if you see that is always existing is spiritual, and that which is destroyed is material, then it is part of spiritual world, because this Kailash abode is never destroyed. Right, but technically speaking, whether actually, see, the Brahmajyoti is mentioned. Brahmajyoti is just the light coming from the spiritual planets, right? Finally, it is coming from Krishna, the light. This is just the light part actually of it. And beyond
Yeah,
the Brahmajyoti is mentioned as a Kailash.
even Shadashiva Loka also have the same effulgence actually from Krishna sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Prabhuji, one basic question. So that means that on the night of Brahma, all the others in your one universe egg, everything is destroyed. Or I thought I read somewhere that Satyaloka, those 3-4 are not destroyed planets.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji. So that is true. That's what I also tried to explain. What I explained is that so the everything from pole star, the Dhruva Loka below is destroyed, is what I understood. Okay, so that is the beginning of the Swarga Loka. So below that, above that, this Mahar Loka, Tapa Loka, Jana Loka, and Satya Loka, right? These higher planetary system are not destroyed.
But then Lord Brahma is the first human being, no?
Okay.
I mean, they say he's the first human, no, Prabhuji? So
Yes,
he's
Prabhuji.
not destroyed, that means, even when the rest of the...
Yes, exactly. See, Brahma is supposed to create again, right? See, Brahma's night only. See, there are two destructions, Mataji. So the partial devastation is actually happens at every night of Brahma. So Brahma has a day and night, right? Is one day is 1,000 Mahayugas. That is no, that we know Bhagavad Gita, that is mentioned. No, Sahasra Yuga Paryandam Aharat Brahmano Vidum. So 1,000 yugas Mahayuga. So one Mahayuga is around 43 lakh years. That is the four yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga is around 43 lakh years. So when this 43 lakh repeat 1,000 times, that is one day of Brahma, right? And similar, so at the end of Brahma's day, he goes for rest. At that time, all this planetary system below the Brahma Loka, I mean below the Swarga Loka, are all destroyed. Okay, but Brahma's planet and the higher planetary systems are not destroyed. That Maharloka, Tapaloka is there, no? Okay, let us see here.
Yes.
This planet, see Satyaloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, and Maharloka are not destroyed. Okay. Below that, everything is destroyed, and it is night. So night of Brahma is actually equally for like it is like 1,000 yugas is actually the night of Brahma. For 1,000 yugas, everything is unmanifested, all this lower planetary system. And in the next day of Brahma, again actually he creates all this lower planetary system. So this way this is a partial devastation, and after 100 years of Brahma's life, the entire thing is gone actually. Everything goes back. Is that clear, Mantri?
Not clear, Prabhuji, you're breaking.
Is it?
Yeah, the last part you were breaking. Okay. I get the...
Is it okay now?
Yes,
Yeah,
Prabhu,
so
now it's...
what I was saying, Mataji, so every night of Brahma, there is a partial devastation where the planet from Swargaloka below are destroyed.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes,
next period. And after the lifetime of Brahma, after Brahma's 100 years, even the entire cosmic manifestation is again going back to the body of Vishnu. That is the Mahavishnu's breath, right? We discussed.
Yes, right on top, yeah.
So these are the two kind of devastation, main devastation.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Two more has been explained, Prabhu. Actually, 4 types of annihilation have been explained in Bhagavatam.
Yes,
one is constant, another is occasional, third is material, fourth is final. Final means it will happen only to specific jiva. Like when the jiva decides to when the jiva is completely pure and he pierces the material layer and he goes out of this material world, that is also one kind of annihilation that is specific to that jiva. And within this material world, when the jiva purifies, right, he overcomes all material influences. That is also one kind of annihilation.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. Thanks. So
Mataji, actually, Brahma is not first human being. Brahma is first living entity. Brahma's body is completely made up of intelligence. No, that earth, water, fire, air, ether. It's only intelligence. Very powerful body. And he's not human being. He is first living entity.
Living entity. Okay.
Yeah. So now this Bharatavarsha, where we are living, it is called the field of activities. It is called the land of activities. Because only in Bharatavarsha, we can do sin and pious and create future reactions. So once you go up, only enjoyment. Once you go down, only punishment. Whatever credit debit you have accumulated, you will go through. But in Bharatavarsha, only you can create new sin or new pious activity plus new devotional service.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. devotees, one question. Tomorrow morning, 10 to 10:30, are you all free? I'm trying to just take half an hour class on Bhakti Vinod Thakur.
I am not. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes,
10 to
Prabhuji.
10:30. Yeah, I am not.
Whatever time you suggest, we can meet, because hereafter I cannot join any class evening. I will be joining my official classes. So tomorrow, day after tomorrow, maximum 2 days I can take class, and I don't want to pitch in Bhagavatam. Hereafter, our Ravachur Prabhu and Aparajit Prabhu experts will be taking Bhagavatam class. So I thought of completing the pastimes of Bhakti Vinod Thakur alone. So in our in our WhatsApp group, you all can reply whatever time suitable for you. We can connect.
Okay, Prabhuji.
10 to 10:30 is fine, bro.
Okay, so devotees, so I actually I have not really started the presentation. Okay, so I want to start the real presentation. So time is over actually. So I think we can continue maybe Monday. What do you say?
No, bro. What about
Prabhu.
Saturday?
Yes, Prabhu. Monday
Saturday.
will do.
Yeah.
So, no,
Monday will do.